Now let us have a look at the question over here. So bank ABC held a bond with face value of rupee 100 and for the coupon rate is 8% payable yearly and maturity after 5 years. YTM, that is yield to maturity, is given to be 6%, or we can simply say rate of return over here in this case is given to be 6%, and we need to calculate the duration of the bond. I already told you there exists a inverse relationship between the YTM and the bond price. What does it mean? That if the bond price, if the YTM is greater than that of the coupon rate, if the YTM is greater than that of the coupon rate, in that particular case, the market value or the current market price of the bond would be lesser than that of the face value. In that case, the face value, the market value will be lesser than that of the face value. But in the opposite case, where the YTM is lesser than that of the coupon rate, in that particular case, the present value or the market value would be higher than that of the face value. That is the same case we are dealing with over here. In the case, we are provided with the coupon rate of 8% and the YTM is given to be 6%. So 6% is lesser than that of the 8%. So in this particular case, the present value that will be calculating would be higher than the face value, that is rupees 100. So we calculated it to be 108.42 in this particular case. That is higher than that of the face value of the bond itself. Is that clear? Okay, so we are provided with all the details over here and we need to calculate the duration of the bond. Let me zoom into the screen and further I'll be telling you that what particular fields you need to identify so as to calculate the duration. In the first column, you will be mentioning the frequency of the coupon so is received. So whatever it is the frequency, in this particular case, it is not provided. So we'll be say we are getting the coupon at annual frequency. It may be the case it is specifically mentioned over there in the question itself that you are getting the semi-annual coupons. You are getting the semi-annual coupons. In that particular case, it will be 0.51. So if it was mentioned to be that you're getting the semi-annual coupons, in that particular case, the A column would have been 0.5, then 1, then 1.5, then 2. So it would be covered in such a manner. But in this case particularly, the question we are having right now, in this case, we are having the coupons to be paid on annual basis. So it is taken as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is the time period when you will be receiving the inflows or cash flows. Okay. And in the second column, it is given to be the cash flow you are receiving. The cash flow you are receiving for 1 to 4. For 1 to 4 years, you're receiving only and only the coupons. Okay. And at the end of the maturity, the person would be receiving the coupon as well as the maturity value or redemption value, that is 100 rupees. That is why it is written to be, it is clubbed to 100 plus 8, that is equal to 108. Is it clear? In the C column over here, we are having the discounting factor. How one can calculate the discounting factor? It is as simple as that you can calculate the discounting factor 1 divided by 1 plus R raised to power n. Now R is the discounting rate. R is what? R is the discounting rate over here. In this particular case, we will be considering the discounting factor to be yield to maturity, that is a 6%. So it is in decimal, it will be 1 divided by 1 plus 0.06 raised to power n. For first year, it will be equal to 1 divided by 1.06 raised to power 1. For second year, that is for the second term, it will be equal to 1 divided by 1.06 raised to power 2 and so on. Okay, so that is what we calculated. I can just let you know that how we calculated it. Okay. So in the calculator, you can see over here, if it is visible, if we calculate 1 divided by 1.06, it comes out to be 0.94. And again, when I'll be pressing equal to, it is 0.889. That is a value that we have already written over here. Then the next value, it is 0.8396. So it is rounded off to the 2 decimal part, that is 0.84. The other one, it is 0.79 and then it is 0.747 and rounded off to 0.75. Is that clear? That is how we basically calculated what? That is how we calculated the present value factor, or we can simply say it is a discount factor that we have mentioned over here. Is that clear? And in the D column, in the column number 4, we are having the, we have just multiplied the B column with the C column. We have multiplied the B column with the C column. What we are doing actually, we are getting the present value of the all the cash inflows. So whatsoever cash inflows are there, we are just calculating the present value by multiplying them with the discount factor that you have calculated. So we multiplied these terms and we are getting the present value of these cash flows. So particular D column is related to what? It is related to the present value of the cash flows. It is basically the present value of the cash flow, and further we just calculated these value multiplying the B column with the C column, and further if we aggregate, if we take a aggregate of all these terms, that would be equal to what? That would be equal to the present value of the bond. Because what happened actually, we are getting rupees 8 for 5 years. Let me draw it over here. 1 2 3 4 5. So we are getting rupee 8 for 5 years, and at the end of the 5-year tenor we are getting the 100 rupees value too. So we are discounting it to the present value. So we are discounting this all the inflows to the present value. So this is the scenario. So multiplying this term, multiplying the inflow with the discounting factor, actually providing us a neutral point or same point, that is the present value of the bond. So we calculated the present value of these cash inflows, and further we basically added them up all, and we are left with what? We are basically have calculated over here the present value of the bond. Is that clear? So the total of the D column basically signifies it. Basically we are calculating what? We are calculating the present value of the bond over here, that is 108.42 rupees. Is that clear? And is what I said over here to you, that if YTM is lesser than that of the coupon rate, so YTM over here, that is a rate of return is 6%, which is lesser than the coupon rate of the 8%. What does it mean? It means our current market price is going to be over and above the face value. That is what we calculated, that it is greater than that of the face value of rupees 100. Is that clear? So is that clear? So how we calculated the coupon? So coupon is always calculated on what value? It is always calculated on the face value. So whatsoever the coupon percentage is given, it is calculated on the face value. That is how we basically calculated the cash flow of rupees 8 over here, that we are going to receive for each and every year. At the end of the maturity, we are going to receive the redemption value, that is the face value of the bond, that is rupees 100. It means in the last year at the maturity, we will be getting the coupon as well as we will be getting the face value. Okay. So these are the inflows. In column C, we calculated the present value factor. Present value factor is nothing but it is 1 divided by 1 plus R raised to power n, where n is the frequency and further R is the discounting rate, which is given to be YTM in this particular case, because we are going to discount all these factor at the yield so available. Okay, so that is what we did, and further we calculated the discounting factors. In the D column over here, we just multiplied the B column with the C column. That is, we are calculating the present value of these cash inflows. We are calculating the present value of these cash inflows, and when we will be adding up all the present value of the cash inflows, we will be basically calculating what? We'll be calculating the present value of the bond, that is 108.42. Now in the last column, that is the E column, we are multiplying the present value of these cash inflows with the time factor, that is the T over here, that we mentioned over here in the column A. So in the A column over here, we are having the T factor. We are having the T factor when you are receiving the coupons or the inflows. Okay, so that is it. That is the E column that we calculated, that is multiplying A with the D. That is how we calculated E column over here. Okay, so we are having this particular value, we are having the different values for the different rows over here, and further in the last column over here, we basically added up all these value, and we are left with what? We are left with 470.80. that is signifying what? So PV, it is a present value of the inflow, and multiplying it with the time value, multiplying it with the time factor, and adding them up all, that is the summation of all these. That is what is the value over here. And in the numerator, we were having the sigma PV. If you remember, this is the formula related. This is the mathematical representation of the duration. This is the mathematical representation of the duration that we already have covered over above. Okay, so that is a formula related to duration, and that is how we simply calculated it. I know the calculations are quite difficult, but it will not be in the same single question that you will be getting in the exam itself. It will be covered in the case of the case study. Whether it would be covered in the case form of a case study where we will be getting 3 questions or 5 questions. Okay. So it is worth solving it. So it is worth learning this particular concept because it is going to come in the form of the case study, or it may be the case that you are already provided with all the values and you just need to find out the answer. That is how you can do calculate. Okay. So the duration over here, it will be equal to 470.80 divided by sigma PV, that is 108.42. So it will be simply equal to 470.8 divided by the 108.42, and it is equal to 4.34. So the macular duration, or simply we can say the duration, is equal to 4.342. It is 4.342, and it's always in years. The duration we calculate, it is always in years. Is it clear? Is it clear? That is how we calculated the duration. What are the different factors over here we calculated, and further how it was possible so as to calculate the present value and all the other terms related to it. You must be crystal clear with the things, that what values you are getting, what are the inflows, and further that how do you calculate the coupon, and why, where you need to consider the YTM. So YTM is considered when you are calculating the present value factor, or we can simply say discounting factor. When you are calculating, you are using the discounting rate, it is as the YTM it is to be mentioned. It may be the case in the question it is mentioned rate of return. It may be the case it is mentioned over there in the question itself the required rate of return. So whatsoever the second percentage mentioned in the question other than that of the coupon rate, it is basically considered to be as what rate? It is to be considered as the required rate of return in particular these type of questions, but that certainly depends upon the wording of the question itself. Okay. So that is how we calculated it. Then simply we multiplied the B with C, and in the last column we multiplied the A with D, and further we take a sum of all these terms that we calculated, and further there we solved the duration formula itself, and there come the answer related to duration, that is 4.342 years. Now what is related to the modified duration, that if we were to calculate the modified duration too, how we could be able to calculate? So how can we calculate the modified duration? So the formula was quite simple. It is equal to duration divided by 1 plus R. I already told you R over here is not the discount rate. It is equal to YTM divided by N. That is the frequency of receiving the coupons. Okay. In this particular case, you are receiving the coupons yearly. So N will be equal to 1. Okay. And R will be equal to YTM itself. Okay. So it will be equal to 4.34 divided by 1 plus R. That is YTM is given to be 6%. So it will be 0.06 divided by N, that is equal to 1. That is how we can calculate it. So it will be equal to 4.34 divided by 1.06, and that is the modified duration. That is equal to 4.096. It is the modified duration that you calculated over here. That is 4.096. Is that clear? Okay. What if you were receiving the coupons semi-annually? What if you were receiving the coupons semi-annually? Just let me give an example related to it. I'm not going to solve the full question based upon the semi-annual coupons, but I'm going to give an idea that what values would be covered over here. So in the column A over here, the first value would be 0.5, and over here the cash flow, we need to half the coupon rate also. The coupon rate would be 8% divided by 2, that is equal to 4%. So if it is 4% half yearly, you'll be getting the coupon ₹4 half yearly. In the third value over here, the present value factor that we calculated as 1 divided by 1 plus R raised to power N over here, if you remember. Okay, that is the discounting factor. Now in this particular case, in the previous case we calculated it as to be 6%, but now it will be half to that would be 6 divided by 2, that is equal to 3%. So it will be calculated as 1 divided by 1.03%. 1 divided by 1.03%, that is 1 divided by 1.03 raised to power 1. That is how we can calculate it. The discounting factor, that is 1 divided by 1.03, that is equal to 0.97. That is equal to 0.97. And in the fourth column, you need to multiply these. That is into 4, and that is how we calculated it to be 3.88. And further in the last column, you need to multiply the 3.88 multiplied by 0.5, because we need to multiply it with the first column over here. So it will be 1.94. So you are going to repeat this exercise for all the terms. In this particular case, it would be not the 5 terms, it would be equal to 10 terms, because if it is paid half yearly, in that particular case there will be 10 terms when you will be getting the inflows. Okay, so all the terms are to be covered in that particular case. Is that clear? Is that particular part clear? That is how we can solve it in the case of the if the coupon is being paid half yearly basis. Okay, and that is how we calculated the duration, and further we calculated the modified duration. Then it is related to what? It is related to the bond price changes can be estimated using the modified duration. So if there is a change in the bond price, and further if there is change in yield, we can do calculate the percentage changes in the price itself. So let us take the case that the previous YTM is given to be 6%. Let us take the case that the YTM changed to be 6.5%. It changed to the return changed to 6.5%. Now in this particular case, what would be the approximate percentage change in price? What would be the approximate percentage change in the price? It would be equal to what? It would be equal to modified duration that we calculated as 4.094 or 6, and multiplied by the yield change. Now the yield change is 6.5 minus 6%, so it will be 0.5%. So that is how we can do calculate. That is 4.094 into 0.5. That is 4.094 multiplied by 0.5. That is equal to what? That is equal to, there will be 2.047 percentage change in the price itself. Okay, so the percentage change in the price will be 2.047%. Is that clear? That is how we can estimate the percentage change in pricing using the modified duration. Okay.